I started skating when I was 3 years old, and as far as I can remember, I always wanted to be on the ice and play the game.
He had a natural talent from the moment he put his skates on. He was 3, 4 when he put the skates on for the first time. He didn't even fall. He put on his skates, and that was it.
When I was pretty young, Pee Wee Bantam, I think that's when people realized that I had a special talent, you know, with all the numbers that I was putting up, scoring a lot of goals every game.
I was reading a local French language paper, and there was a little blurb where Scotty Bowman mentioned that he had heard about this incredible young hockey player called Mario Lemieux from Villemard. I went to see him play, and he didn't know I was there. After the game, I ran to the phone and I called my boss at the time, Gus Bedali, who represented Wayne Gretzky at that time. And I told Gus, I said, I found the next Wayne. He says, Bob, if you ever tell me that again, you're fired. So I said, listen to me. I said, I think I found the next Wayne. I told him again.
When Mario turned 15, he joined the Laval Voisin of the elite Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Bob Perno arranged a meeting.
He says, if I break Guy Lafleur's records in scoring, he says, what kind of contract do you think you can get me? And I looked at him and I said, Mario, I promise you that if you break Guy Lafleur's records of 288 points in one season, and you do what I think you can do, you'll be a millionaire at 18 years old. Then in the spring, there was Guy Lafleur's record. Mario needed a total of 5 points to get that record of 288 points in a year.
By coincidence, the Edmonton Oilers were in Montreal that evening. Wayne Gretzky heard about Mario's run at the record and attended the game.
Mario blew the record out of the water. He had, I think it was 5 goals and 6 assists. And I brought Wayne down to the locker room so that Wayne could congratulate him. After that game, he stuck his head out of the dressing room and he pulled me over. He went like this. So I went over and I said, yeah. He says, remember that promise you made me?
The Pittsburgh Penguins were the worst team in the NHL in 1983, but there was a reward for their futility, the #1 pick in the upcoming draft, and first shot at Mario Lemieux.
Every team was trying to get him. Montreal came up with some great offers. Quebec offered me the Stastny brothers, which were big. Philadelphia offered me 3 or 4 players, and if we would have did that, this place here would have been a parking lot.
Bob Perno nearly held up his end of the bargain. The Penguins signed Mario to a contract worth more than $700,000.
I remember coming to training camp that year and just thinking, how good can this kid be? I mean, I was going to take a shot at this kid. I was going to line him up and I was going to put him right on his wallet. And I had him lined up at center ice, and he pulled a 360 move on me, and he was by me before I could even blink. And that's when I said right there, my goodness, this guy is unbelievable.
Cleared out to the blue line.
My first shift was in Boston. I went in on a breakaway against Pete Peters, deked him on the left side, and scored my first goal in my first shift, so that was a pretty good start for me.
Racing in all alone, Lemieux, his first shot on goal, and he scores! Mario Lemieux, living up quickly to all the advertisements.
In the summer of '87, Mario represented his country in the Canada Cup, a major international tournament. The experience would change his life.
Really a turnaround in my career to really have a chance to play with the best in the world.
In the deciding game, Mario and Gretzky teamed up to bring home the gold.
It was a big goal in his career, but also in the history of Canada.
To see him attain success at that level for our country, I mean, that was just beyond words. can't even describe it.
I had a chance to play with Gretzky the last 2 games against the Russians and score both winning goals at the end. Was really a turnaround in my career. It gave me a lot of confidence to come back to Pittsburgh and do the same thing here.
By the late 80s, Mario Lemieux had turned the Pittsburgh Penguins from the league's worst team into a title contender.
You really don't need a game plan when you've got a guy like Mario Lemieux.
Lemieux himself was considered by many the greatest player in the sport. But after 1989, he would never be the same.
It was late '89 where I started to have some back pain.
It's a tough sport. You get hit all the time, and especially him being a target.
A little guy like that's just trying to make a name for himself by picking on the big guy, you know?
He was the best player in the game, and guys were targeting him every night.
Penalty, Lemieux is down.
Part of his problem, unfortunately for him, was what we call congenital, or in other words, he was born with it. So he had these stress fracture type fractures in his back and had this congenital narrowing of his back.
He'd actually have to grab his pant leg to lift his legs over the boards because he didn't have enough strength in his back and his hamstrings to get his legs over the board.
But 9 days later, with his streak at 46, Mario reached his limit.
The Rangers are almost explicitly ignoring Lemieux right now.
We were playing a game in Madison Square Garden and the pain was just too much. He couldn't finish the game.
Mario Lemieux is done for the night, and that means that Mario Lemieux's streak is over.
The pain was too much. I had the pain running down my leg, and at that time I just couldn't perform the way I wanted to and decided to have the surgery.
The surgery was going to deal with some of the problems with his discs, where if they could be removed, or at least parts could be removed, a herniated disc type problem, then maybe some of his symptoms would be improved.
It did feel better for a while, and then that was a training camp. And then I had a staph infection set in early in training camp.
He was in hospital and bed rest for a period of several weeks, and then was continuing on IV antibiotics through a special catheter line and incapacitated for several months.
I was in bed for 3 months. I couldn't move and didn't know if I was going to walk again, and I was on heavy medication for a long period of time.
Mario rejoined the Penguins in January, helping them to their first division title.
By 66.
It really fueled us as a team because not only do we want to win it for ourselves and win it for the organization, the city, we all wanted to pull together for Mario, that he had gone through so much that he deserved this.
Yeager muscled it in. Yeager shot. They win.
The Penguins rallied to defeat New Jersey in 7 games in the opening round.
It's a pass to Stevens. He scored.
They cruised by Washington and took out Boston to win the Wales Conference Championship, with Mario scoring the empty net clincher in Game 6.
It was a great relief. I knew that when the puck went in that we were going to the finals.
He split the net right in the middle of it. And the Penguins are going to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in their history.
That was my ultimate goal when I grew up, to have a chance to play in the Stanley Cup Finals and have a chance to win the Cup.
The bombshell's been landed here. Mario Lemieux is not playing because of back spasms.
With Mario sidelined, the Pens fell behind Minnesota 2-1 in the Stanley Cup Finals.
The Penguins came out for Game 4 with fire in their eyes and Mario Lemieux back in their lineup.
Ignoring the pain, Mario returned for Game 4, scoring a goal and an assist to even the series.
Many times he was playing at 25 or 50% of what would be a 100% level of health. And, you know, he would come back and he would come back and he would come back, and you couldn't believe it.
games later, Mario and the Penguins demolished Minnesota to earn the franchise's first Stanley Cup.
The Stanley Cup has come to the city of Pittsburgh. The 1991 Stanley Cup champions, the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is an unbelievable story.
To finally raise that cup at center ice for the first time was a great feeling.
Go for it, Mario. Go for it.
We entered the locker room, and when he saw us, Natalie, my parents, he burst into tears. And then he handed me the cup, put it right in my hands. It was quite a moment.
We were the worst team in the league. We'd been bankrupt in the 70s. We were almost sold in the 80s. Mario had been, laid up all that time with a bad back, and the Penguins were the dregs of the National Hockey League. And now here we were at the top of the mountain. It was an incredible moment.
I'd like to thank the city of Pittsburgh and the fans that have been supporting us for the last 24 years. We love you guys, and this cup is for you. Thank you.